and our meeting tonight is now open for sharing testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jeremy.
I am grateful tonight for this church and for all I am learning here. My daughter was 16 when I first came to Plainfield, and for the years prior to that, I had been basically atheist and told her often that church was no good. So when God brought me here, she was probably just as surprised as I was. And during the time since, I've done my best to meet any lingering resistance with the truths I have gained here. Recently, I had the opportunity to spend a few days with my kids, and during that time, I was given many instances to talk about Christian Science to them. I am very grateful for this because I felt as though the conversations we had actually succeeded in bridging the gap between us a little more. My favorite part of all this is that I was not specifically looking for an opening to talk about what I've learned here. Rather, there were just very organic points in which it became clear I needed to speak up. One conversation revolved around the recent mass shootings, and she said that she wondered if some people were just born evil. I said that science teaches that evil is not person, place, or thing, and that of everything I have ever heard about this subject, that made the most sense to me. We all have these thoughts coming to us, and some are awful, but those mass shooters decided to hold on to those evil thoughts instead of casting them out, because they didn't have the tools they needed to discern what was good and what wasn't. I let her know that Mary Baker Eddy said, we need to stand porter at the door of thought, and that if we do that and only allow good thoughts from God to take root, then we will never express anything but good. She has seen me be healed of depression and many other issues these past years, and I've been very direct with them. That is only because of what I'm learning in Plainfield that has made that possible. I'm very grateful to God for paving the way for these conversations, and for this church and regular practitioner support for giving me the clarity on these teachings that allowed me to be ready to speak in a normal, healing way to my kids. Thank you. And now I have a testimony from Diana in Berlin.
Hello, this is Diana from Berlin and Vienna. I'm in Berlin now, and I want to express my gratitude for a statement that Mary said in a roundtable discussion at least 3 weeks ago. She said, God does not make an insane mind. I have been back at my elementary music teaching job in Berlin for over 4 weeks. There have been a lot of changes in the school for the better over the last 2 years that I've been there, but upon returning this year, I found out that there were a lot of changes in the administration. The principal who hired me and who believes as I do in the power of arts education is leaving the whole system to take a job in China. I was concerned that the new principal, who actually took the job all of last year and who is a very good pianist and believes in arts education, I've been concerned that she just doesn't know how to advocate for the music education program that I have been working extremely hard to create and implement for these children. And there was virtually not much of anything before I arrived. I am developing the program every year, and the impact for these children is so extremely evident to me. I see it in their eyes. They are just lit up from the inside out. It impacts them at a soul level, and I know it is God working through them. To impact them at such a young age is life-changing, and I have been concerned that the new administration just doesn't get it. They are asking me to do things that just doesn't make any sense. And I've been saying things like, this is crazy and insane that they would expect this of me. Now, when I heard this comment in the roundtable discussion, I wrote it down on a Post-it note and put it on my desk at school to remind me that whenever I am tempted to say the opposite, I remind myself to say that God does not make an insane mind. I am feeling more calm, and saying this statement takes away my reaction. I was also grateful for further discussion on this topic during Sunday's roundtable on August 25th. There is so much going on in the world that seems so chaotic and upside down, so I think it's very important right now and always for us to hold fast to the truth that there is only one mind, and that is the mind of God. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nancy from New Jersey, go ahead.
Good evening. I wish to express my gratitude tonight for the service and for the beautiful readings and music. I wish to express my gratitude for all that we are being taught in Plainfield to help us better understand Christian Science and how to apply and demonstrate it in our daily lives. I'm so very grateful for the loving and the steadfast practitioner support that I'm receiving, which is helping me to turn to God for all things. I'm extremely grateful to this church for providing a way to attend church remotely via the teleconference number or by the internet, making all the services available to all, no matter where we are or what our circumstances may be. One of the statements that my practitioner gave me to work with from Psalm 138, "The Lord will perfect that which concerneth me." One of my concerns, or I should say desire, has been to find a way to attend church services in Plainfield. And although I was able to arrange occasional transportation, for which I was most grateful, I felt the deep desire to be able to attend more often than those arrangements allowed. I prayed with the statement from Psalms, and I left this desire with God, knowing that whatever was right would come about through God in His time and according to His will. I recently received an answer to my prayer in a most wonderful and unexpected way. 2 of our dear church members contacted me, offering to take a bit of a detour on their way to church, which would enable them to pick me up and take me along with them to Plainfield. I am so deeply grateful for their loving and selfless offer and for all of the blessings that have come from this, from the prayerful and loving atmosphere expressed on our ride to church, for the opportunity to have fellowship with our church family, and for the opportunity for me to be able to be more of a help to our church, which is a great blessing. I am learning to be patient, to stop outlining, and to rely on God for all things, that His perfect plan will be revealed, and our prayers answered in ways that only God could provide. I am so grateful to God, to Christian Science from Mrs. Eddy's teachings, Christ Jesus, my practitioner, and to the Plainfield Church. And I am so very grateful to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Good evening. I wish to express my gratitude for our Sunday morning roundtable classes. At this last session, I thought of my going through Christian Science class instruction and realized that these roundtable classes are far superior to the learning received from the class instruction. I am most grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Shahidat from Maryland, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Amanda, for those wonderful readings. I had a recent healing I'd like to share. A few Saturdays back, I came home from my morning activities and sat at my office desk to do some work when I started scratching my right bicep. I was absent-mindedly scratching at the irritation without giving it too much thought. Later, I got up to take a shower and I noticed that I had splotches or welts on the entire right arm from my armpit to my wrist. Later, I noticed the same splotches on my torso and legs as well. Even with my dark skin, the splotches looked red and very inflamed. After my shower, I got to work knowing the truth about myself. The thought that I was having some kind of allergic reaction or just came in contact with poison oak or poison ivy was aggressively coming to me. But I rejected those thoughts as my practitioner has cautioned me about giving the lie a source and thereby providing it with legitimacy. By bedtime, the splotches were still present, but the itching had mostly stopped. Next morning, as I was happy to see that my right arm was clear, but my heart dropped when I looked at my left. It was as if the little boogers had picked up and moved from the right arm to the left in the middle of the night. I decided that it was time to get help from my practitioner on this. I called her after church as planned, but by then, the irritation had spread to my face. I was itchy all over, and the splotches were starting to reappear again on my right arm. And I thought, well, there's no way I can go to work the next day looking like this. When I told the practitioner that the splotches had moved from my right arm to my left, I believe she actually laughed out loud, and I laughed along too at the situation, which made me feel a whole lot better. I was told to study pages 390 to 393 in our textbook, and she prayed for me. Before I started reading, I prayed to really hear the message that God was trying to tell me, and a few hours later, as I got ready to do some grocery shopping, I noticed my arms were both clear, as well as my face, with the exception of a few welts above my eyebrow. I texted the practitioner that my skin was mostly clear, and I went grocery shopping, still thinking about the command statements I had been reading all afternoon. The practitioner texted back to remind me that my true being had never been touched by this lie. The next morning, I was able to wear a dress to work as there was not a single splotch anywhere on my person. I was completely free. I am very grateful for the ready help of the practitioner and for our leader, Mary Baker Edith, for having the courage to capture this wonderful revelation from God in a textbook to benefit all mankind. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale from Virginia, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for those lovely and very hopeful readings on the divine duty to forgive. I recalled an experience this morning for which I am very grateful. Some years ago, my husband and I were at a guest ranch that we loved. We were looking forward to going on an all-day horseback riding trip in the mountains. But in the morning of the scheduled trip, I was inexplicably sick with nausea and dizziness. A practitioner from this church was contacted for help, and I spent the day sitting on the porch of our cabin, reading and studying the Bible and science and health with Key to the Scriptures. By supper time, I was completely well and refreshed after spending time in prayer, which included everyone at the ranch and acknowledging God's allness and protecting care of his whole universe. I found later that this was very important work and felt that I was exactly where I was supposed to be and doing what I was supposed to do. As it happens, the trip to the mountains was to a new location, and even though they had scouted out the trails ahead of time, when they were actually there, the group was guided the wrong way and had quite a scary and challenging time. An old-time cowhand at the ranch who was along to help with the group said that he couldn't believe no one was hurt. Instead, everyone was well and happy. My gratitude is unbounded to God for his protecting care and to the practitioner who is working through the day, knowing the allness of God good. Thank you again for the readings and for all the other testimonies and the beautiful music tonight.
Thank you. Dede from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm grateful to have learned through the study of Christian Science in this church that God has a sure and perfect plan for my life, and as found in Romans 8, verse 28, that all things work together for good to them that love God. Mostly, I'm thankful to be learning that I don't have to wait for his plan to be ultimately revealed in some grand way. Rather, as I progress in understanding, I'm witnessing the unfoldment of his perfect plan daily in all areas of my life. This is something for me to be reminded of each day, to eliminate any excuses I may have to worry. For example, if I'm aware of something that needs to happen, to be scheduled, purchased, coordinated, completed, taken care of, and so on. I can think on several past experiences which have proven that my all-knowing, loving, and protecting Father always takes care of it all and brings it all together beautifully. And it's my duty to communicate with him constantly while trusting and obeying his direction as best I can. One of the greatest parts of this lesson is in realizing the importance of pausing, taking a step back, and even stopping activity altogether when necessary, rather than working continuously, aggressively, and forcefully in order to allow God to do his work and to allow myself to clearly see the work that he's doing instead of trying to do it for him. He's shown me so much, and I look forward to seeing much more of the good that he's promised to all who love him as I move forward in my study. Thank you so much, Amanda, for tonight's readings and for all the testimonies given so far and those to come. I'm grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Bruce, and I wanted to thank Amanda for those readings, which were very helpful, very instructive, and so good. It reminded me of an experience that I had some time ago where I was with a few other people, and it seemed like there was always something antagonistic coming up in the conversation, even accusational, and I could feel myself getting like defensive and a little irritated. But I did bite my lip and I didn't say anything. And then I remembered that after I went home, I opened up this book called The Greatest Thing in the World by Henry Drummond. And he talks about that chapter in the Bible, 1 Corinthians 13. And there's one part of what he said that really struck at me. It's that part in the Bible that talks about charity not being easily provoked. And he had an extended discussion about this, about mind your temper and don't be easily provoked, because love is not easily provoked. And I realized, okay, well, if I let this stuff get to me when I'm with these other people, first of all, and if I allow myself to get provoked and react to it, I'm only going to harm myself. But not only that, I'm going to be useless to God in that circumstance. And which brought up the reason why I'm even here at all, and that is to be God's image and likeness, to be an expression of his love. And once I got that cleared in my mind, when this conversation started coming up again, I didn't get ruffled. That was the healing for me. I'm thankful for that healing truth. But not only that, the antagonism stopped altogether. So I'm very thankful for these readings tonight and to learn that love is not easily provoked. Therefore, I will not react and respond adversely. Great lesson for me. Thank you. Debbie from Illinois, go ahead.
Good evening. I, too, am very grateful for the readings this evening. I look very forward to studying them in greater detail. I'm grateful for my increased reliance on God every day in all situations, and for, on a daily basis, seeing the loving effect of his care in my life. Thank you very much to Mrs. Eddy for sharing Christian Science with all. Thank you for this church, and thank you for our loving Father, Mother, God. Good evening.
Thank you. Edith from California, go ahead.
Thank you. I am so happy to participate today. I want to express my gratitude, first of all, because I have a day off today and I'm able to participate. It's so good to participate in this meeting. I just I'm so inspired by each and every one. I want to express my gratitude for the practitioner support. Their support is unconditional and always available at any time. Just a few days ago, I reached out to a practitioner because I have been having some severe pain on my left hip that I thought it was because I had problems with this since I was a kid. And because I fell down when I was a kid, and I shared this with the practitioner, and the practitioner helped me remember that if it wasn't good, it never happened in Divine Mind. I am so grateful for this. And also the practitioner shared with me that I could have never fallen out of God's love and care. How beautiful this is. And I'm so grateful for her because she said this to me, reminded me of this. And I feel great. I feel way better. It's just so wonderful. The pain is gone. And I just want to say thank you so much for everything that the Plainfield Church does for all of us so freely and lovingly. Thank you for the practitioner support. And thank you for having me tonight. I hope everyone has a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
I thank Amanda for very instructive and helpful readings that really reminded me that experiences that if I can forgive, I'm never thrown off balance. And it has happened many times. I thank for the music here and the lesson that we had just last week on mind. I was away. I was having a very interesting, enjoyable time with pleasant people, my family, and others. And my wife lost a necklace. We had such a great time, and I felt it was God provided, and there was no possibility of anything bad coming into it. But she was sure she had lost this necklace. Well, I prayed, and we know that nothing's lost in Divine Mind. So I held to it, but I didn't try to convince her otherwise. I just told her that, I don't really look for it. And then I said to calm her, I said, after a while, I said, I'll get you another. And we went to get another, and she was all calm and happy. And as soon as we had gotten the other and gone back to our room, she was just so actually amazed that I was willing to get her, that all of a sudden her mind, the thoughts came to her mind is where she really put her necklace. I thank God for that. I take it that she had felt some love, godly love for me, and it just changed her attitude. She found her necklace, we returned the other one, and again, it made me feel good that nothing bad had ever happened or could on our trip. I thank God for Christian Science and healing.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda, for the healing message of forgiveness with so many pertinent citations. Many of our instructions caution this to be done, to forgive. And Mrs. Eddy, it's no wonder some of her early writings in the prose works, for example, Love Our Enemies on page 8 of Miscellaneous Writings, and also Taking Offense in 223 of Miscellaneous Writings, all speak to this. The remedy for this is love. And over the years, I have seen that without obeying this, I wasn't living. In the Blue Book, page 277, Mrs. Eddy says that the effect of animal magnetism is to make you think you have all your old beliefs back again. This is so true in the past for me, and it really has helped me to examine myself deeply. And when things went wrong and the reminders came back, to see them as animal magnetic suggestions still. Whatever's supposed to have happened never did happen. And for me, through my study and practice, to keep relinquishing the past, as our Bible verses tell us, God requireth a past. It's an effort, and it wasn't easy at all for me. As I've mentioned before in past testimonies, I had this spirit, I just felt like someone had to be repaid, revenged. And I found out, though, that I couldn't do it. And that if I wanted peace, I was to look at each and every return of these old beliefs as animal magnetism tempting me. And I had to pray quite a bit for God to help me to let go of the past and to replace the awful feelings with love. Through doing that, I also learned that I really was getting ahead of it all. When these past suggestions would come, my reaction to them, how I felt, was an indicator of how far I was moving away from these, suggestions. I would say that putting love in place of all of hate's disguises, the envy, self-righteousness, indifference, etc., that's all that can heal this awful feeling. And we know that truly we are rewarded with peace and love, of a freedom, really, if we obey to forgive and forget, like the hymn 163 says. I'm so grateful for all the testimonies, grateful for Mrs. Eddy. I can't say enough about what it means to be able to live love instead of all the other hateful feelings that we can entertain. Grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
I'll read an excerpt from an email from our new friend in Kansas City. He said, "Being a part of your watch last night gave me a glimpse of what can truly happen when people unite and pray together." 2 Chronicles 7. The Blessed Comforter was present as I meditated upon the reading after the teleconference call. Of course, many denominations believe in united prayer, but to pray scientifically and in unity with other unprejudiced minds is a primary key that unlocks the door of spiritual demonstration. Mrs. Eddy says there are millions of such minds. And then, if it is okay, I would like to be present again on your Thursday evening for the watch. And of course, we would be so happy to have him. And then, until next time, many thanks and appreciation for your steadfast labor of love. Thank you tonight for those very beautiful and well put together readings. It's such a wonderful reminder to get rid of any forms of resentment or unforgiveness or any of those carnal mind thoughts and replace them with the thoughts of God, the only true and real thoughts. I had been reminded recently of a statement from Watches, Prayers, and Arguments by Mary Baker Eddy, one that I have loved, and it is this: "There is no fatal mistake. There is no unforgivable wrong. There is no unpardonable sin. There is no permanent injury. There is no incurable disease. There is no such thing as too late. Mrs. Eddy certainly includes just every kind of situation that could be plaguing us. And in science, we know that all things are possible to Him. And I was thinking about the word incurable. The dictionary definition of it is a person diseased beyond the reach of cure, beyond the power or skill of medicine. Well, it might be out of the power or skill of medicine, but it is never out of the power and skill of God, who is our great physician. That word incurable, to me it means the cure must come from within. Incurable. And I thought this goes along with the lesson that was read tonight. If you are harboring those thoughts of unforgiveness or other kinds of thoughts, as I mentioned earlier, it's like a block where God can't reach you. And so you have to cure yourself, so to speak, get rid of those tormenting thoughts and replace them with God's thoughts, the thoughts of love. And thus you will find there is no incurable disease. God heals it all. And the negative thoughts are just as untrue and as unreal as the seeming physical manifestation. Neither one are of God, and neither one ever touched God's child. I'm so grateful to Christian Science, where we can know this no incurable disease. And that whole list, God wipes away with His tender, loving care for us all. So very grateful for Mrs. Eddy giving us this science and to be here tonight.
Thank you.